Hey, how are you?
Hi, Almesha. I am great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just trying to stay warm in this cold weather we have here in Georgia.
It is unbelievably cold. Make
Yes.
a nice big pot of soup and sit down somewhere.
Oh, that sounds so good. And I remember growing up, like my mom used to make a big pot of soup. And like back then, of course, as kids, we were like, we don't want any soup. But right now, I wish I had that pot of soup and some cornbread.
And some cornbread. That's right.
Yes, yes, yes. There's some good old cornbread to go with it.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. So, well, thank you so much for taking the time out to do this interview with me. I greatly appreciate it. And I'm sure all my YouTube fans will appreciate it as well.
You are very welcome.
All righty, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. So let me introduce my guest of the day, y'all. This is my EXP sister, Miss Lisa Smith. Yay! Woo-hoo. EXP in the building.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes. A great brokerage to be a part of.
I agree. Number one.
Number one, yes, number one.
Thank you for having me, and I am happy to be here.
Yes.
And
So today we are going to be talking about a big issue that people are like on the fence about becoming a landlord. Like, is it good? Is it bad? The good, the bad, and the ugly. You will be talking about that. So we'll go over the pros and the cons, and then I'll just do a Q&A session to, kind of get some other information that people are probably interested in wanting to know.
all right. Well, I definitely have my top three pros and my
Mm-hmm.
top three cons to
Okay.
consider if
Yeah.
you plan on journeying down this highway of
Oh,
being a
yeah.
landlord. So let me just share for a little while, just a little background information. I did not set out to be a landlord. I owned a house
Mm-hmm.
in Atlanta, and I decided once I moved out of the house that I wanted to keep it, and I didn't want it to sit empty. So that's how I became a landlord.
Okay.
Really, because I thought about how much money I could make get a renter in there. But I also did not want my house to be vacant.
Right.
So let's talk about the pros.
Okay.
I mentioned it a little bit. The number one pro is that it is a lucrative stream of income.
Yes,
Depending on
definitely.
depending on where your property is
Mm-hmm.
and the demand to live in that specific area, you could really make top dollar rent. And I don't know if your viewers live anywhere around Atlanta, even in the outskirts. For some
Yes.
reason, it is hot.
Yes. Yes.
So,
That's
so
definitely a plus.
it's definitely a good idea if you purchase some investment property or if you already have property.
Mm-hmm.
It is a great source of steady income. So that is definitely a pro. Okay. So another pro would be that you become your own boss. You literally launch your own business, whether you know it or not. Now, of
Mm-hmm.
course, you could just be a private homeowner that rents out. You let the renter sign a lease agreement, you get that money monthly, and you leave it at that. But for some people, they may be interested in calling their home a business. The
Right.
the home that they rent out a business. They can actually get a business license And when you go to those lengths, you actually have a significant tax write-off at the end of the year because you have a business. So now in the state of Georgia, of course, you would have to register with the state of Georgia or with your specific county, but it is worth it because if you do paperwork out of your own home that you live in, if you run your printer, whatever you do, if you buy office supplies, all of those are business write-offs.
Yes.
And I don't know about you, but I look for those write-offs at the end of the year.
Yes, definitely.
Any way not to give Uncle Sam my money.
Exactly. Any way to keep that money in our
That's right.
yes.
That's right. So that's definitely another pro.
Mhm.
And then another pro would be that if you have property that you're renting out, when it's time for you to sell that property, you have a choice. You could either sell the property as rental property, or you can sell the property as just a physical home dwelling place. Now, depending on, who's in the market, if you have investors, oh, it's top bidding.
Yes, bidding wars.
Yeah, because investors are looking for properties to rent out so that they could have a steady stream of income. And if you already have a renter in there and all they have to do is just assume the property, it's no telling what you could sell your property for.
Preach, preach.
So those are my top 3 pros. Stream
Yes.
of income, launch your own business, and then that resale value.
Yes, those are some great cons, and I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in becoming a landlord because of those 3 cons right there.
So those are pros. Those are pros.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Look, thank
Now
you.
we're gonna get to the cons because I promise you. And I don't want to scare anyone off. I don't want to scare anyone off, but
yes.
it's something that you really need to think about if you want to become a landlord. So,
and that's with anything. Anything is going to be pros and cons.
Yes. So we already talked about the good. Now let's talk about the bad. Because
Okay.
the bad could be kind of ugly. So just like what we have just experienced in the last year with this pandemic, people face extraordinary situations that may make them lose their job or make them become ill, and their situations change. And that monthly stream of income, depending on what's going on with your renter, can come to a halt. And I know some landlords whose renters have opted for the deferment plan or whatever the plans are that they have out there, where the landlords cannot move on moving them out of those homes. So they are living free of rent. And depending on whether or not you own your property, the bank doesn't want to hear that you didn't collect rent from your renter. They still expect for you to make those mortgage payments. So that could be challenging when your renters are not able to pay their monthly rent.
Yes, that's definitely something to think about, especially in the time that we're in right now with COVID. So yeah, definitely want to take that into consideration.
So that's a con. The other con is, I talked about you launching your business as a landlord and your space becoming a rental space. And when it becomes a rental space, you can actually register to participate in the Section 8 program and all of that as this rental business. But a con with owning your business is your annual reporting. So I said that it's a great tax write-off, but also, in addition to writing off your expenses, you have to include the income that's coming in. And depending on whether or not you already have a job, it may take you into a higher tax bracket, which means you may have to pay more taxes, all based on that lucrative income that's come in. I mean, you do the math. If you make, let's just say from your 9 to 5 job, you make $50,000 a year. And let's just say on your rental property, you're raking in $1,300 a month. That's $1,300 times 12.
Yes.
That is a lot of money on top of $50,000.
Exactly. Definitely
it
push you in there. Yes.
It pushes you up. Sounds real nice.
Exactly.
However, I talked about Uncle Sam. He's going to want his portion.
Always.
Yeah. So that's definitely a con. And it's something to think about, how you can be pushed into a higher tax bracket and ends up owing more taxes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then my final con that I really wanted to talk about is, I told you my house was my house when I had it before I started renting it out. And I loved my house, honey. Mm-hmm. From the paint that I had on the walls to the doors that I picked out to the new windows that I put in. Well, I loved my house. And sometimes you may get a renter that is not in love with your house, and they may be destructive and create a lot of damages to your property. Now, of course, you put in your lease agreement, if you break this, you have to repair this. But depending on your renter, sometimes we don't get the best renters. And I'm just going to be honest, some renters are trifling, and they will damage your property
and won't care.
And you'll get to the point where all you want is for them to get out.
Exactly.
But you're left with repairs. You're left with having to repair the damages that they did. So it's definitely a con. But on the flip side of that, you just have to be really diligent with who you pick, really scrutinize those applications, and make sure you do your background work on those renters, because everybody comes with a smiling face and acting like they are wonderful, but then they get in there and tear up your house.
Exactly. It's all smiles. It's, oh, I'm the best tenant that you can ever have. And then 3 months in, you maybe go check on your property and you like, wait a minute, what is going on?
I checked on my property. Now, I am diligent about checking on my property, and I usually will check on it bi-monthly until I get a feel of what kind of tenant I'm working with, and then I'll push it to quarterly. But I remember visiting 2 months later and saw one of my garage windows was busted out. I couldn't believe it. Was like, my house.
Like, what? Exactly.
And apparently the son was playing ball in the driveway and broke the glass, and she did repair it. But like I said, I love my little house. So when you break it, I'm upset.
Exactly, because you put your heart into that home. So it's like your baby, and you want them to respect and take care of it like you would. But
right,
sometimes you just don't get that in return.
Yes. So those are my pros and my cons. I do believe that being a landlord is a great experience. So I really do. It teaches you a lot about the whole rental world and working with people. You get to meet people. So it really is a great experience.
Yes, it is. And coming back to with you saying about how you went and checked on your rental properties, is there something that you can put into the lease to be able to, enter the home at certain, times to be able to check on your investment?
So I'm glad you asked that question because my lease agreements are pretty extensive and
Okay.
I am specific about a lot of things. And one of my stipulations is I give you 48 hours before I need to come in.
Okay.
So of course I usually schedule ahead of time
Mm-hmm.
just to be that considerate.
Right.
However, um, I put it in my lease agreement and I let them know I can give you 48 hours to come and do an inspection. So
Okay.
2 days prior, if I notify you on a Sunday, I'm coming on Tuesday. You got your 48 hours notice.
Right.
And
Right.
and when they know that, they'll keep your property up.
Yes, that's why I wanted to make sure I asked you about that, because a lot of people, don't think that they can incorporate that into a lease term, but you can, because like you say, it's your investment, it's your property. So it's very important that you're going to check on that property, like you say, until you get a feel of that tenant, and then you can maybe not go as often, but it's definitely good to have in a lease term when you're being a landlord.
So before I rented out my home, what I did was I visited one of the neighboring apartment complexes and I asked for a copy of their packet. And
Oh
of
wow.
course,
Okay.
it was a copy of their lease because I just wanted to see the terminology and all of that. I was brand new to it.
Right.
And I just wanted to see, what are they doing to ensure that people are taking care of their facility and all
Mhm.
of that. And of course, a lot of it needed to be tweaked,
Right.
but my lease agreements are as extensive as one that you would get from Invitation Homes or any of those other agreements
Right.
because I want to, first of all, I have to make sure that I have all of the Georgia specific laws in my
That's
lease agreement.
important.
And you don't really think about it if you're not familiar with it. But those
Exactly.
business people that have had their businesses operating for years and years and years, why reinvent the wheel? Go and get a copy
Exactly.
of it. Look at their copy and make their copy your own. Just tweak it to make their copy your own because they have thought about it and planned it out already. Um,
Yes.
and then there are some free lease agreements that you can get online.
Mhm.
But my suggestion is if you live wherever state you live in, if you live in the state of New York, go to a New York apartment complex or
Right.
a New York housing development. Go there and get their lease agreement because they've already tweaked out all of the things that you don't even have to think about anymore.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's definitely a good idea to go, like you say, in your state. And because, as an apartment, they have pretty much dotted every I, crossed every T. So, like you say, you kind of tweak it and make it your own, but you don't have to do a whole lot of thinking trying to figure out your lease.
That's right. And you're protecting yourself. They have thought about all the way down to having pets in the
Mm-hmm.
facility. And you
Yes.
don't have to think about it yourself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now, another thing with that, did you have to get a lawyer to look over your lease?
So I didn't get a lawyer to look
Okay.
over.
Okay.
And honestly, when I initially started out renting, I became a Section 8 landlord.
Okay.
And and I went through the Atlanta Housing Association.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why I did that is because they literally come out and they inspect your space and they will license your space. So
Okay.
they help me to know how to bring my home up to
Okay.
code,
Oh,
whereas it would
wow.
be okay to rent out to a renter. So that
Okay.
was number one. Number two, they review your lease agreement. They review all of that. So if there's something in there that shouldn't be in there or something in there that or something missing that should be, they
Mm-hmm.
actually review all of that. So I don't want to say I kind of cheated, but I used that
No, that
association
was
to help me do the right thing as a new landlord starting out. Now, if
exactly.
you all have money out there and want to go get you an attorney to look it over,
Go
go
ahead.
right ahead. But you really don't have to go to those lengths,
Okay.
especially if you go and borrow leases from operating businesses that
Right.
already, I mean, they have tweaked and tweaked until they can't tweak it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yes.
all according to the law of that state.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That is good. Some great information. Definitely some great pros, some cons to think about. But like you say, it can be very lucrative to be a landlord. And, in a perfect world, you have that perfect tenant that pays on time. You living it up. They take care of your property. Like, that's in a perfect world. So, you know, it has its pros and cons, but again, that's with any and everything.
Well, I hope your viewers journey down that road because it is, listen, we are in 2021
Yes.
and these are the years where you need to have multiple streams of income.
Say that again.
You need to
Multiple.
have multiple streams of income. Income
Exactly.
from one place, that was grandma in them.
Yes. If
That just doesn't
2020
work
didn't
anymore.
teach you to have multiple streams of income, you must be living it up because I am definitely in search of having multiple incomes because with the pandemic, we saw that people losing jobs, businesses shutting down. So to have multiple streams of income, that's the goal.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay. So I just have a few questions here that I know with people wanting to journey down this road. So the first question is do you have to be licensed to become a landlord?
So no, and that is a great question. You do not have to be licensed. If
Okay.
you own a house, you have a right to rent out your space. You just have to make sure that it is a safe dwelling for whomever you rent it out to, but you do not have to be licensed.
Okay. All right. And the next is, well, we already went over this, like where you can get a copy of a free rental lease agreement. And like you said, just go to in your state an apartment that has already, like you said, tweaked out their lease agreements and so you just went in and kind of asked them for it, or you told them like what you were doing with it.
So no, you know what? It's funny because I just walked in and I asked if they had a packet on
Hmm.
a 3-bedroom
Okay.
home that was, it resembled mine. And I actually went to 2 different
Okay.
places. I went to an apartment, it was a townhouse complex.
Okay.
Um, and I can't even remember the name of it.
Hmm.
Since the Stone Mountain area, and then I went to another um, renting home agency.
Okay.
And so, because I knew I was renting out a house,
Okay.
but you just ask for their information on something that comes close to what you're renting. If you're renting out a 2-bedroom house, ask for
Hmm.
a bedroom townhouse or a 2-bedroom home and
Gotcha.
their rental agreement. And I mean, they are more than willing to give you a packet. I don't recommend that you go in and say, I'm interested in renting from you. Can I
Right.
fill out something? No, no, 9 times out of
Okay.
10, you don't have to do that. But then I later learned that I could have saved my gas because a lot of their agreements can be found online. Yeah. And it was just something that I learned later on when I wanted to add something about pools, because I had a renter that wanted to put a pool in the backyard.
Oh,
a,
wow.
a portable pool in the backyard. And I was
Oh,
like, oh no, I gotta find something to add in here. No water, no water.
yeah. No. Yes, that was good.
So a lot of those you can find online now. You
Okay.
don't even
Well,
have to
yeah, like you said, save some gas and just
go.
search online.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, the next question was, how do I become licensed to get Section 8 participants? And I know you kind of touched on that as well.
Okay, so yes, you depending on which county you're going to, I became one in the city of Atlanta, and you would go to the housing authority. They have a program. You register for that program. You do, it's a quick little training, and I can't recall. I think it was maybe 2 days that you go to the training, or it may have even been one day that you sit through the training, and then that starts the ball rolling for them to come out and license your space. It probably took me about 2 months to become licensed with them. And it really does depend on your home and your space and the condition that it's in. Again, I lived there, so it was in great condition, so it was easy to license.
Okay.
But some of our investors are purchasing homes that need a lot of work, and they are not going to license those homes unless you fix them up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And so another question was, how do I get an EIN number for a business? And do I need to register my business with the state of Georgia?
Okay, so you can go online, type in the search engine EIN. It will bring you to that. I think it's a state page. I can't remember, but
Okay.
it will bring you to the EIN number site.
Okay.
And you simply need your social security number. You need to know whether or not your business is going to be an LLC or sole proprietorship, or I don't know if you're going to be incorporated, but you need to know how you're going to set up your business. You fill out that information. And again, that social security number, because whatever EIN number you get is going to be linked to your social security number. It's just that
Right.
you will then move forward using your EIN with your business. But it's a simple process. It literally takes you probably at most 15 minutes to do to get your EIN number.
Yeah, it is. And then you can print the thing right out
You print
and
it
right
right
off of
out
the,
and you have it. And you can start using it right away.
yes, right away. So go
Yeah,
ahead and get those bank accounts.
really easy, really, really easy. And as far as being registered with the state of Georgia, you can go online now and be registered with them. Now, the thing is, depending on which county you live in, I know in DeKalb County, you literally have to physically go to the, well, it might be a little different during pandemic now, but you had to go down and fill out the business license and pay a certain fee, and you had to go in person. They may have changed how they are operating now with this
Yeah.
COVID-19. So, but you can go to the website, the DeKalb County website, and find out, or whatever county you live in, you can go there and find out what you need to do to get licensed as a business.
Okay. All righty. And I know we talk about the taxes and everything. So what expenses can be written off annually?
So this is a biggie, because I really learned through trial and error how I was cheating myself every year, because I would upgrade carpet. Um, Again, anything, any amount of money that you are spending on your property to improve it, it becomes a write-off. So if you improve your carpet, it's an expense, it's a business expense. If you have an electrician to come out and upgrade the service, that's a business expense. If you had to call a plumber, if you um, change the roof, everything that you do to improve that space becomes something that you can write off. Um, of course, office materials, office supplies, cleaning. I used to get my carpets cleaned every 2 years, whether the renter stayed or not. If she didn't do it on her own, I was going to do it.
Right.
Because if I didn't, I would have to replace it. It's cheaper to clean it than
Then to
replace it.
replace. Yes.
But that is a write-off. So my suggestion is, if you rent out, you get yourself a trusty little notebook and you just write down every time you take $1 out of your wallet and put it toward your rental space.
Okay.
You write it down in your ledger because it adds up. And I just didn't realize it. I cheated myself a few years before I got a little smarter. Yeah.
Yes, we live and we learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And another biggie, how do I make my renter responsible for damages?
Whew. So that's in your lease agreement.
Mhm.
You know, you make sure you have those clauses in your lease agreement. Um, I'm not going to say that it always sticks, because sometimes, again, you may rent out to the wrong renter.
Right.
And sometimes you'd rather them just leave your property before they burn the whole house down.
Right.
And then to ask them to repair the wall that they kicked in. So, but in your lease agreement, you have to make it very clear. If you, normal wear and tear, dirty carpet, normal wear and tear like that, of course, they can't be responsible for, because that's just normal wear and tear. But holes in walls, that's a problem.
Yes.
Breaking down your doors, that's insane. All because you left your key inside and you can't get in. Now you broke down my door. you know, things like that. That is problematic. Broken windows, things like that shouldn't happen. I mean, do we break our windows in our own home?
Exactly. Like, why would we do that?
So, but you make all of those things, you put that in your lease agreement that they are responsible for repair. And then you make sure you tell them that they have a specific time frame to get those repairs done. And then, of course, now way back when I started, it used to be you get a security deposit and the first month's rent. Now people are doing security deposit, last month's rent, and first month's
And
rent.
first one, exactly.
That's right, because they're trying to protect their investment. So if you get somebody who broke your door, you have last month's rent to pay to get it fixed.
Yes, yes, because it can become very costly to us as landlords to fix those things if we don't, sometimes that first month, last month in deposit doesn't cover everything you have done extensively to my home.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and so the last question I have, when reselling rental property, is it better to sell as a rental property or as a single family home?
So it depends on the community that your rental property is in. It depends on, if who's interested in purchasing your home. Okay, so I I sold my rental property as rental property
Okay.
because my home was in an up and coming area of Atlanta, and I knew that I would be able to get top dollar from an investor who wanted to do what I was doing for many years. Okay. So I knew, sell it as a rental property and I'll be able to sell it quickly. That's the other piece. People are more apt to want to make money than, you know, in this progressive little area, find a little family that wants to live there. In this progressive little area, it was easier to get renters that want to walk to restaurants and, you know, do little things, because their plan wasn't to stay there long. It was probably to just stay there for maybe 3 or 4 years and then move on.
Yeah.
So it depends on the neighborhood that your property is in, and it also depends on what's happening in the market. You got to pay attention. I paid attention in that market. I saw what was moving in and what was going on around me. And so I knew that I would be able to get top dollar for that house when I did as rental property. So you just got to know what's going on with the market.
Okay. All right. Well, that wraps up this interview. Again, thank you so much, Lisa, for taking the time out. I greatly appreciate it. And I hope you guys got some great info. And now you kind of know whether you want to be a landlord or not. So, again, thank you for tuning in to my channel, The Real Tea in Realty. Thank you so much, Lisa, again, and hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.